Hi. Well, no, this is really week 4. Anyway, hi. Week of, let's do September 12th through September 18th. This is the week I'm talking about. So let's talk about the energy of the week. I think there's a couple main themes that stood out to me that I want to talk about, that I talked a little bit about last week. I talked about this thing called a grand trine in Earth. And what it is a big blue triangle that shows up in a chart and is a big conglomeration of energy. I'm pulling it up in the chart so that I can show you exactly what I'm talking about, because it is in effect, it's in play all week, and it's important when it's in play all week. Oops, see you later. So this big blue triangle, if you can see it here in the chart, and it's got little triangles right here. This big blue triangle is what we call a grand trine, and it lands in different elements. So this week, it spends most of the week in Earth because the sun is in Earth, and the sun is making aspects to the planet Pluto and to Uranus, and on part of the days, also the moon. But so it's really in play all week long, this Earth energy. So let's talk about that Earth energy for a minute. Earth energy is the energy that actually makes things happen. It takes what was a list that the air people made, of which they have maybe several lists, and moves it into actual practicality of like crossing stuff off their list. No one loves to cross things off a list more than Earth energy. So all of us have Earth energy somewhere in our chart, but someone who has a lot of Earth energy really likes to cross shit off their list. So anyway, although air energy likes to make the list, they love lists. They love all the different colored pens they've got, that they get to make all their lists and all that. But the earth energy actually gets stuff done. And they're taking care of really important practical details. Money. I'm making time to talk to my husband about money, and we take care of like all the clutter. They take care of necessities. They take care of like making sure that we're stocked up with groceries, making sure that we have a meal plan, making sure that meetings are set, and that the schedule, they're very much about the schedule. So there's like, when people either have a lot of earth or when they really struggle with earth, one of the things is the schedule. It's like a really big thing, to really be able to manage a schedule, especially now that, like, if you have kids or anything, they're back in school and activities are starting, and you've got to manage this. How do they get to school? How do they get to activities? How do they do all this? I tend to bring family stuff in a lot because I was a mom. I am a mom, but when my kids were younger, this was a big time of year where I had like a color coded Google Calendar to figure out where my kids needed to be and how they were getting there and all that kind of stuff at all different times. So anyway, that is very, very much earth energy. So you're supported this week with the grand trine in earth. It's supported. So this is a really great week to get shit done. So take it from the list and actually get it done. Actually do it. So that's one of the major themes this week, of pretty much the whole week. The moon will be supporting it midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The moon will be conjunct the North Node in Uranus. So that will be, supportive in that thing. But the other main theme of the week is, let's pull up the chart again, Sun opposite Neptune. So let's find the sun at Virgo. Sun in Virgo is at 22 degrees right here, opposite Neptune over here, in Pisces at 24 Pisces. So this is all week long. So right now we're on the 15th, but if we went back to the beginning of where I'm talking about, Monday the 12th, it's at 19, the sun is at 19 degrees, Neptune is at 24 degrees. The sun has a much bigger degree orb of what we would say, because it's such an important planet. It's our life force. So it's the one of the biggest planets in the sky. So we cannot avoid it. In fact, we can't live without it. So the sun, whenever it hits up another planet, we pay really close attention. So we're coming off of the sun trine Uranus from the full moon and the weekend prior to this. And that energy of new ideas, new way of doing things, a unique viewpoint, doing stuff outside the box, breaking the mold of something, shattering a pattern, creating a new pattern. We're not shattering so much in a trine as much as we are thinking about creating and actually executing, because of the earth, a new pattern or a new way of doing things. So that's where we're coming off of. Now we've got the sun opposite Neptune predominating the week. And so following on the heels of that, possibly what the Sun trine Uranus did is it just opened up an idea. It opened up something. It didn't actually make you execute it, but it was like, I never thought of it that way. That's a really big Sun trine Uranus thing. I never thought of it that way. Meeting someone who helps you think of something different, or maybe you talked with somebody, you're talking with someone who is like a consultant in their field or an astrologer who gave you a different perspective on something. And now you're like, I wonder how I would integrate that. This is where Neptune comes along and helps you give you space to daydream. I think I didn't totally purposefully, but I have this wavy wall in my house. I call it my wavy wall. So it's literally reminds me of the ocean. And this is Neptune. Neptune is the ocean. And so that ability to really just contemplate and daydream and expand beyond your borders, there's no boundaries with Neptune. So really just considering what are the things that what am I daydreaming about? And what am I discarding? Because I'm like, okay, that's silly. And what am I like, that could be really cool to put together. Great week for daydreaming and future pacing, because we're going on the back end of Uranus. Uranus brings in that future pacing, thinking about the future. So daydreaming, like, what would I do if I wanted to do this? What would I do if I wanted to do this? And like allowing that space. I talked about this in the last video, allowing. This is that receptivity of beyond efforting. When we only effort and we only put in this like thought, like, and like next, and we don't leave space. And this is not something that our society is very good at. We don't leave space to just sit and stare out the window, which I do probably more than I should, but well, whatever. That was a good earth word right there, should. But that daydreaming component of it gives me the opportunity to consider how I want to do these videos before I even ever get on here, so that I'm able to just do them once. And of course, I have my notes because I'm a good little Gemini. But the piece of it is that that I do give that space of like thinking it over in my head and just kind of playing with different words and that kind of stuff. Daydreaming, super important. Something we did as kids that we like, got shut down when we hit a certain age, and it was like, that's not what we value. But it's super valuable because that stillness is where the best ideas come from. Yes, they come with working with other people, but what happens if you spend some time in your daydreaming mode and then you come to work or you come to your team and you say, I had a great idea. And then it gets expanded and executed because you gave yourself the space to get still and quiet. Neptune rules meditation. It rules yoga. So I think I have a friend actually who's going on a retreat. It rules retreat. So it's a really great space to be on retreat. Neptune also can rule, looking outside the norm, right? The woo-woo, really exploring things that are outside your box, coming off of that Uranus, breaking, patterns and old ways of doing things. And Neptune expanding, like, I think I do want to pick some tarot cards and just see what the tarot says for me this week. And just letting those things happen. Neptune also rules, rules institutions. The kind of institutions it rules are more jails, prisons, and mental institutions, asylums. So one thing to consider in this time frame, remember we've got Mercury retrograde, is where am I keeping myself in a mental asylum? Where am I not allowing myself to daydream? Where am I not allowing myself to think beyond the to-do list, or like the way I always do things in September? That's a big thing. I get that a lot. But in September, this is what I do. And I'm like, well, what if you didn't? There's an idea. So this is the week for that also. So these are the really big things. And Earth can create some practicality around it. Earth can help you discard, like, that is completely preposterous. We couldn't even touch that idea till 2024. So let's write that down and then let's move on to what we can do in 2022. So it can give you the space to bring imagination into practicality. That's really the most beautiful combination of this thing. Again, we have to watch with Neptune. We always have to watch deception. Where are we deceiving and where are we being deceived? So just to be really careful with that. So let's run the week really quick. We start the week with the moon, following the moons, conjunct Chiron in exact degree on Monday, September 12th. And so what I like to look at with this is looking at the self. Aries is looking at the self, always like, what is it? Who am I? What am I doing? Definitely the capital I. So with Chiron having been in there since 2018 and in there through 2026, I believe, maybe 27, we've been really exploring like the concepts of self. And is this my idea or is this someone else's idea that I adopted? This is a really big deal. So here we are on Monday, exploring that like, getting that opportunity. So think about it on Monday, the 12th, if you were given an idea and you're like, well, but that's actually, I don't own that idea. Like that's not actually my identity or my sense of self. And this is a really interesting thing to think about there. It's also Aries can also be the warrior. So it's, we think about like, where are we going to war for something that we don't necessarily need to be at war about? Or where am I not being enough of a warrior for something I'm really passionate about? That's an interesting thing to think about. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I really like, Wednesday, Thursday is when the moon really comes into conjunction with the North Node and Uranus. And so we've got more support with the earth energy, right? And so this is a day to really probably check in on our senses. This is going to be a little bit slower. That moon in Taurus goes a little bit slower and likes things in sequence. So trying not to get too far ahead of yourself with that. This also could be an interesting time. The moon goes into Taurus once a month. So this is not an unusual thing. What is a little bit unusual is earlier this summer, I had talked about the last week of July and the first week of August. We had Mars, Uranus, and the North Node all together, and they were shattering a pattern. That was definitely like, we're, like breaking things. It definitely broke things. In fact, I had more people, because I kept talking about it, people reaching out to me of broken collarbones, broken legs, falling, separated shoulders. Like a big mountain biker, and I heard all kinds of stories of people falling off their bikes and hurting themselves. And so what I think about when I was looking at this aspect for this month, say it's like what, 6 or 7 weeks after when those three came together, what I'm wondering now is, are we having some kind of healing around what was shattered then? Is the moon bringing in, like, for instance, if we broke something, like, is it like, I keep going to my collarbone, even though I didn't do that. Is it healed? Are we in the healing process? Are we doing PT? Is it healing nicely? So we're able to move again and we're able to do those things. That's something I would think of, like something that broke back then, that now we're getting some healing because we did the work to be able to get healthy again. That's just a very basic example of just like an experience that had happened in my world. But this energy is about like, how do I use the creative and the practical to get shit done? So that's really what a lot of this focus is, especially this midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even the moon's still in Taurus. So to really, there's a lot of good energy to really move. So in this week, we've got, I think at this point, we've got Venus and Sun in Virgo. We've got the moon and Uranus in Taurus, and we have Pluto in Capricorn. So we've got 5 planets in Earth midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday, Friday, we also have, and through the weekend, we have 4 planets in Earth. So we're still got a lot of Earth, but we just, it just gets highly accented that midweek. So a great opportunity to like really, if you're trying to figure out like, when am I going to put my head down and really focus on something, this is a really good time. But then on Friday for the weekend, the moon moves into Gemini. So this will be a little bit speedier. It's always good to have a moon in Gemini on the weekend, I figure, because Geminis really like to play. They don't necessarily, I mean, they're good at getting stuff done and they do like to work. Well, they like to do whatever it is that they like to do in the moment. My Gemini is showing, but it's a fun thing for a weekend because it's a play weekend. I really am interested in, I'm looking at, it will conjunct Mars on probably late Friday night. These two will actually, well, they're pretty much together Friday and Saturday. Saturday, the 17th, is actually my dad's 85th birthday, and we're traveling to go, my whole family, sisters and their kids, and me and my kids and everything. We're all going to visit my dad for his birthday and celebrate his birthday here on the 17th. So this will be an interesting, my guess is it's going to be a little rowdy. We're a little rowdy as a family anyway, as you might be able to imagine, but it could be even a little bit rowdier. My concern is that we could also get a little mouthy, because we're already mouthy as a family, and it could be a little bit more mouthy, but we'll see. The good news is I think we have a private room wherever it is that we are going to dinner. And so I think we'll be insulated from the rest of the restaurant. Oh my God. So anyway, but for everyone else, like, The other thing that's happening at this time that's super interesting is it's the Mars is squaring Venus in exact degree. So Venus moved into Virgo a few weeks ago, and she was actually just back on the 5th. So it's only been a week, or 10 days from this point. So Venus in Virgo is a little bit more solitary. She actually, this is not a comfortable place for Venus because Venus in general likes to partner. Venus in Virgo doesn't love to partner with very many people. They tend to have a tight circle. They tend to really need boundaries to honor their alone time. They don't like to be obligated into something. They do it, but they don't like it. So now it's squaring Mars and Gemini. So if we look at Venus and Virgo being a little bit more internal, and we look at Mars and Gemini being a little bit more external, they're in a little bit of a tug of war because it's a square. We've talked about squares quite a bit, and squares are actually a Mars quality of kind of creating a conflict. Squares tend to create conflict in the chart. So the hard part about this is that how do we honor Venus and Virgo tends to be a little bit more will be a little bit more, again, using my word, exacting, being like thinking about what they're wearing, thinking about how they present themselves. Mars and Gemini is sloppy. So there's some combination in that weekend as I have been contemplating, what am I going to wear to my dad's dinner? Because I'm a little bit more of a hippie and I'm a little bit more bohemian, and he's very straight-laced. He's a Virgo. So, it's even like something that's silly, like, okay, how am I going to like take care of myself and what I love to wear and not blow him out of the water at the same time? It's a silly thing, but it can disrupt things. So to think about that perspective, one of the things I loved, I heard another astrologer say, and I can't remember who it was because I would love to give them credit. Maybe it was Rick Levine. I can't remember. The thing about Venus square Mars is it either brings sparks to a relationship where you have respect, or it will bring sparks to a relationship where you don't have respect. So think about that for a minute. If it's bringing sparks to a relationship you respect, then that rowdy, fun, laughing, raucous dinner that I'm talking about will happen. If it's bringing sparks to a relationship you don't respect, then that's going to probably end up in a fight, or it's going to end up saying things that maybe you didn't want to say, or something like that. With Mercury being retrograde, there's a chance that if we are in a conversation or an environment, again, the moon being the environment, if we're in an environment that we are not feeling respected, or we don't feel like we really respect the people that we're with, things can be said and done that may be unconscious and may create some friction, because that's what squares do in a chart. So I would be really thoughtful about who you spend time with on this weekend. If it's something that's an obligation and you're feeling like, oh, I don't know if I can really toe the line and do the right thing. Sometimes says Venus, I want to do the right thing. If Mars is like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do the right thing, you might want to consider saying no to that invitation or that experience, because this will be an interesting dynamic. So, but it can also be super fun. So if it is something, it can be, you could kind of ratchet it up a level and get Venus out of her comfort zone. So those are the big highlights of this week, I think, that I really wanted to share with you. And I hope this is helpful. Have a great week.